right, we made it to another episode of Homestead Shop Talk podcast with Al from Lumnah Acres, Ben from Hollar Homestead, and myself, Jason from Sow the Land. And this is episode 45. And I had to look, but we started this in June of last year, this podcast. So we're almost getting there, getting to a year, which is pretty cool.
7 more weeks.
Yeah, every Friday. So if you're just listening, we post this every Friday on all podcast platforms, and then also on Homestead Shop Talk podcast YouTube channel. So what's up, guys? How you guys been?
Been good. Been busy.
Yeah.
Spring is here, which feels good.
I gotta. What happened? I was at Lowe's 2 times in one day this week, and it's kind of funny story. So a couple months ago, I think it was like 2 months ago, I was coming out of Tractor Supply, and this older lady, I don't know, maybe she was in her 60s, 70s. She pulls up in her car right in front of me as I was walking to my car, and she gave me this, like, she's like upset. She's like, "Oh my gosh, I was just at Walmart. Like, she's asking for money, basically. Like, they declined my card, and this huge story." And I was like, and she had like a little tiny dog with her, and I was like, "Oh, okay, here's $5. I give her $5, right?" So 2 days later, I was at Lowe's. I coming out of Lowe's, this same lady pulls right in front of me, gives me the same story, the same little lap dog in her car, the same exact thing. It was like a deja vu. I was like right away, I noticed her, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, she's telling me the same story." And I was like, "This is the same story you told me last month, and I gave you money last month." And then she looked at me, she goes, "Oh, poop." She didn't say poop, but she said, "Oh, poop," and then she drove off. It was kind of funny.
That's funny.
What are the chances of this person asking the same person, me, the same story, and asking the same person for money? Like,
that's what she was thinking too.
I know she probably didn't recognize me at all, but it's
Man, that's why, like, I don't ever really give panhandlers money. Every now and then I will, but I appreciate the guy standing on the corner that has the sign that says, "Why lie? I need a beer." Like, that guy, like, he's honest. Like, at least he's not lying. He's not giving you some sob story. He's like,
right.
"I'm an alcoholic. Help me support my habit." And like, it is what it is. It's like, "All right, man, here's your $5. I appreciate your honesty." But
right.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I'm not saying do that. Don't do that. If you see that sign, don't support a bad, destructive habit like that. But
no, but I know what you mean. Like, you appreciate the honesty, and you're like, okay, I kind of want to give him money now.
Yeah.
For him being honest. But yeah, man, it was just kind of funny. I was like, come on, you got to go to a different spot. You can't go to the same spot over and over again.
That's the dangers of panhandling in a small town. If you're gonna lie, like have a story that's a lie, you gotta keep moving. You can't, don't go hit the same 3 spots over and over again.
I know, it's so funny. She's probably known throughout the whole thing. Watch everyone. Oh, I know. Yeah, she's here all the time.
Right. So you get anything good at Lowe's?
Peck's Pipe. Plumbing. I got a lot done this week.
Nice.
I'm a little jealous you're putting in all your water lines. That's like a high on the list right now, especially right now in dragging hoses. It's like, man, I need to make like Jason and start putting in water lines.
Yes. Should I just talk about my week?
You might as well.
All right. So this week we put in our, we trenched a line last week, about 320 feet total. And then it took me about a week to figure out what I really want to do, which I probably should have figured that out before I trenched. So, luckily it didn't rain too much and filled the trench back up. So I went and bought a bunch of PEX line, and we ran and we piped in all our water. I did it in one day, so it wasn't, it's not terribly hard. The hard part was done, which is the trench. So So yeah, I mean, doing the PEX for the first time, it was pretty easy. I mean, no leaks at all. You know, after you set it in and check all the leaks, everything was fine. And we have 3 hydrants out there, and the pressure is pretty good. Like, I was been a little concerned how the pressure tank would do, or the well would do. I mean, I don't know. I guess over time we'll find out. But so far, the pressure has been really good. Which, man, having hydrants out there and a hydrant in your, greenhouse, it's so nice. I mean, I don't mean to rub it in, but
Yeah.
Just rub it in a little bit.
I mean, it's so nice. I mean, it really is. I mean, oh my gosh. I mean, I tell you, having it trenched was such a huge thing. Uh, but I was surprised how, it was pretty easy running the pecs and crimping them and all that. You kind of had to manhandle the actual pipe because it was like a giant slinky,
Yep.
rolling it out. But once you figure that out, then it rolled out decent. Um, so I don't know. I mean, I know, like, the plumbing experts in the comments are like, "Oh, you should do this, you should do that." Like, the comment section in the video I did on trenching, where it says, "This is what I'm doing," I trenched, and I was curious to see what people would say, like, "Oh, you should do this or that, do this plumbing, do that plumbing, or that pipe." But man, it was all over the map. Like, there was not one that like stood out that, a majority of people said you should use this or that. So it was like everywhere. PVC, polypipe, PEX. I mean, it was all of the above. So it's just kind of interesting to see, to kind of, you're almost kind of like analytics and seeing what people are talking about. Um,
Now, did you
so
do a comparison with the polypipe and PEX? Like, is one cheaper than the other? Just out of curiosity.
I think the PEX is a little bit more expensive.
Yep.
I don't think I didn't like crunch the numbers or nothing, but I don't think it was that much more expensive.
I think it's got to be thicker too, like a thicker wall.
It is
So
thicker.
probably more durable.
Yes, I think it's a little bit more harder to lay straight into the trench,
Yep.
like, because you really had to like almost kind of bend it.
Yep. I would think
Um,
better connectors because, like, with the polypipe, you're just using radiator hose clamps. So I would think with the
yes.
PEX, you kind of get a better connection system.
Yeah, and it was just, once you clamp it, it was done. Like, there was no drips or nothing like that. And then even hooking that up to the well itself, I was trying to figure out where to hook it up at. I had like 2 spots I could have hooked it up at, but I just kind of picked a spot, and um, that was pretty simple too. So it wasn't. I mean, I don't know. It was pretty straightforward. I guess time will tell how it lasts.
It'll
But
be
yeah,
fine.
I mean, I think it'd be fine.
Yep.
You know, I- which I'm pretty happy about. So yeah, the girls are out there right now filling back the trench up. So,
You slave driver.
uh,
I got my podcast. Sorry, guys.
I know. Well, that's about that time. I gotta go do this podcast. Sorry.
80 degrees right now. Go ahead. I'll be in here doing the podcast.
Yeah. What else? So that was a big one this week. What else?
Now, where'd you put your hydrants? You did one in the greenhouse, one at like your barn where the brooder is. Where'd the third one go?
Third one was like on the side of the greenhouse
Okay.
because we have
Now, is that close to the pigs at all?
kinda. I mean, sometimes we move them around, but yeah, I mean it's just outside, so I don't have to have the hose inside the high tunnel. We could have another hose outside. I mean, geez, the possibilities are endless if you have a trencher. I mean, you just keep trenching. Like I want another one over here, over there. But for now, this is gonna have to do. Which is, I think it's gonna evolve over time, but now I know the possibilities. Like we could just keep going off of those hydrants if we wanted to. But yeah,
I saw that. I was like, man, I could never trench here. It's so rocky, just big boulders. And I'm like, and then you were going, what, like 18 inches? I'm like, we got to go 4 feet. I don't even know if a trencher would work. I don't know if they would go that deep.
That'd take one heck of a trencher to go 4 feet. That's like one of those industrial ones where it's like a big wheel that just goes
Right.
along. Yeah, that's deep.
I gotta do it with the mini excavator, and then you get a huge, you get a 2 foot wide hole, 4 feet deep, and you're pulling out huge rocks. So I mean, I can do it. So I can't complain. That just takes a lot more time watching yours. I'm like, man, that went fast.
yeah, it went pretty fast. I know. That's why I didn't move out there, Al.
Right?
It's too cold over there. But
Yep.
yeah. What else? So I put up a couple gates out in the pasture. These are gates that I welded up, which I'm super happy about.
I can attest. We went over there this past week and had a visit, and I walked up and I thought he bought these gates. Like, he did a really good job. Like, it's cattle panel welded to just like a regular stock gate, and then he painted it. Like, I walked up, I thought he bought these, and he was like, "Yeah, did you see the gates I made?" I was like, "Wait, you made that?" Yeah, he's being pretty humble. His gates look freaking nice.
Thanks, man. Yeah. Heck yeah.
Cool.
I know. Yeah, I didn't have to
And that was the
paint them, I
gates?
guess, but
Were they the gates that were there from the horse people?
yes.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm trying to reuse as many gates as there was quite a few gates that I still have. But that's that. Yeah, that's one thing I didn't pay attention to, which I don't know why I should have. But when I built where I'm gonna put the gates in the fence area, I wish I would have paid more attention to how wide the gates were. I kind of just, like, in my head I was like, yeah, 14 feet, yeah, 12 feet. Like I wish I would have said, oh, I have this, like all the gates I have are pretty much 12 feet. So there was a couple openings that I made 14 and 16 feet. So now I kind of wish I would have paid more attention to that, and did them all 12 feet, just so that way I didn't have to buy any gates. But, what are you gonna do? So I'm gonna have to buy a few gates. But, I still have a bunch of gates. So one of these days I'm gonna use them for something. I could probably build another corral somewhere.
Yeah, I was gonna say you can make a corral somewhere. Get you a mini horse.
To go with my mini pigs. Yeah.
Right.
They need
Your mini truck.
friend with my mini truck. Yeah. So yeah, I gotta get some more gates still, but at least a couple of those gates are up. And then I did energize my fence, which I have a small energizer, which is a 6 joule, and it's hitting at about 4,000 to 5,000 volts, which I feel like it should be hotter.
Is it running any nets or anything, or is that just the fence?
That's with, actually, I just attached. That's with I have 2 pig nettings attached to that.
Well, that's probably what it is. I know when I was doing just my hot wire that's up in the air. I mean, it's same concept as a high tensile. Man, don't touch that thing when it's on. That wire's hitting 10, 12, something like that. I mean, it'll knock the taste out of your mouth.
Yeah, I plan on getting more or a bigger energizer, so that way I can attach to it. But so far it's good. I mean, it's there, it's on. I just got to close it up with those gates, and that's it. I'm pretty happy about that, and I can move on with my life.
Bring some animals onto the homestead.
Yeah, that too. I should say my mystery animals. I'm not going to say. But we are getting animals this week.
Awesome.
So hopefully, yeah, by next podcast, I'll talk about it.
The suspense.
Yeah.
Bum, bum, bum.
Mini horse. An ostrich.
A mini ostrich.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to do emus. I don't know why.
What's the difference between an emu and an ostrich?
Ostrich is like freaking tall, and then the emus are like 5 feet tall.
Okay.
You can ride an ostrich.
That'd be cool.
Now, I've never eaten emu, but I've eaten ostrich, and it tastes like beef. Like, it's red meat like beef. So, I mean,
Really?
the infrastructure we would need to keep an ostrich, like, that's some pretty tall fencing. But I've thought about it. It's like, I don't know, ostrich is pretty tasty. Might be worth some, 10-foot tall fences.
Where do they originate from? Any idea? Ostrich?
That, I'm not sure. I'm not sure where they're from. Have to look that one up, like from the Serengeti or something like that. Are you looking it up?
Yeah, from Africa. The grasslands of the savannas of Africa. They're completely flightless, but are incredibly swift runners due to their long legs and strong legs.
Can they jump?
They are the fastest two-legged animals on Earth.
And they can disembowel you if they kick you.
Right.
I wonder if they're good like help with predators.
I don't know. I wouldn't want to mess with one.
I've heard like keep your dogs away from ostriches because they'll stomp your dog to death. Like, man. Yeah, maybe with small children around, maybe I'll just wait on the ostrich. I can wait a few years.
Wait a few years. Stick to the chickens for now.
Yeah, chickens are bad enough. Like, you get a bad rooster, it's like, man, I'm glad you're not 7 feet tall.
Right.
I know. We watched Jurassic Park, the first one this week. Lorraine's like, because you just built your fence, we're gonna watch Jurassic Park. And like some of I hadn't seen that movie in a long time, but some of the stuff they say, just like, man, I just so resonate with. They were like the dinosaurs are testing the fence, and I'm like, I get it. I get it. Yes. All the animals always test the fence. All the animals do. Farm animals, whatever. Yes, it's in their blood.
That movie was made in 93. That's dating me. That was like a childhood movie.
93. I remember going to the movies and waiting 4 hours in line to go watch that movie on day one.
Wow.
How is the quality now compared to...
It's pretty good. I think it's still pretty good. I think it holds up. I mean, you get into like hardcore, like, nowadays movies, like the special effects are just so almost too real. I kind of like the not so real.
Yep.
Like it almost looks like somebody's in a suit walking around. What else? I think that's it though.
All right. I actually had to like sit down after dinner and like write a list. It's like, man, what did I work on this week? It's like, it's a busy time of year and there's all sorts of stuff going on. And I'm doing so much to work around the weather. This past week was beautiful, by the way. Like, what would you say, Jason? Like highs in the low 70s, like perfect weather, almost like beach weather, just like cool and crisp. It was beautiful for like 4 or 5 days. It was kind of hot today, but still wasn't bad. So, I guess I'll just go down my list of things we've done. Some of it has been on YouTube, some of it hasn't. Like we finally got some grapes and stuck some grapes in the ground. That was one of those things we had planted in California, and we had like a pergola over the patio, and we planted them, and then in like a year and a half, 2 years, we were eating grapes that were just, grown above our patio. And so we've been wanting grapes because it's a fun thing to grow. So we finally got some in the ground. Stark Bros sent us some grapes to plant. Other things, like there's been a lot of like weeding and just maintenance. We are full on into grass season right now. So I, for my birthday, not this past year, but the year before, Meg got me a European scythe. And scything is kind of, I don't know, I guess there's like a hipster element to it, but I really, really love using a scythe, especially, a European scythe. We have some American scythes. We were at like an estate auction, and I guess the guy liked scythes, and so he had like 4 of them, and we won the bid for like $50. And so we came home with all these antique scythes, and the grass blades are like 2.5, 3 feet long, and so just had to touch them up and get them sharp. And the kids are out there using them, and they work all right. But an American scythe is like 7 pounds. My European scythe only weighs like 2.5 pounds. And so it just feels like nothing in the hand. And then it's so thin. It's not a hardened steel. You peen it, you hammer it, like super thin, so the edge actually work hardens, and then you touch it up with a stone. And so it's like a laser. It's so sharp. You swipe this scythe through the grass, and it's like it reminds me of like a kung fu movie where they chop with a katana and then the two halves fall apart. Like you move that scythe through the grass, and the grass is still standing, and you watch it just kind of fall over. Yeah. I've been playing around with like making hay. It's furthering these old world skills. There's all these old world skills that I think would be cool to know how to do. Whether or not you use it, it would be cool to know how to do. And so I've got a section of the property I'm letting grow up, and I'm going to cut hay on it, and I'm going to do it by hand. I'm going to, cut the grass by hand. I'm going to rake it and make a haystack. And I think it's going to be pretty fun. We got a couple more weeks before the grass is ready, but we're getting there. It's already waist high, but it's really fun. Like cutting with something that's so sharp. It's effortless. Using the American scythe, you're kind of bent over. You do 20 feet and you're out of breath. This thing, I can go for hours with this thing. So I don't know. Mark 1 for the Amish skills. I'm honing my Amish toolkit.
I was just talking to Lorraine about getting a scythe this week too. That's kind of funny. I thought about getting one for when you move when we move the chickens or pigs, when you put up the netting, and sometimes it's overgrown. Mm-hmm. Instead of usually I'll just like mow around. But I was like, well, what if I carried like a scythe? I wonder if that would help, like instead of mowing or busting out the string trimmer.
So with this thing, all I had ever used, where was it? There was some place I picked up an old American scythe. It had like a brush blade on it, so it's not quite as long as a grass blade. And I sharpened this thing up, and I'm using it to try to cut grass, and I can't cut it shorter than 4 inches. This European scythe, when you order them, you get them from scythesupply.com. They're an outfit out of Maine. When you order it, you give them measurements. Like you give them your height, your from your hip to the ground measurement, and the length of your forearm. And they will custom make a handle to fit your body. And so, Meg had to be sneaky and get my measurements so she could order this scythe for my birthday. And
while you're asleep,
I guess, I don't know how she did it, but this scythe fits me perfectly. And what's nice is the kids can't really use it because they're not as tall as me. Well, Brett's almost as tall as me, but if you're shorter or taller, then the angle of the blade in relation to the ground isn't quite right. So that's kind of cool.
Wow.
With this scythe, I can cut all the way down to like a 1/4 inch if I want, which is like, it's pretty cool. Like you can cut really, really low. But I mean, if you've ever cut hay, you know how scalped it looks if you cut too close to the ground. And it's the same thing using a scythe. Like you can cut so far down. It's I mean, if you want to, you could push real hard and you could cut into the dirt. But you only get a couple of those swings and that edge goes away real quick. I'd say that's the only hard thing to learn is how to keep it sharp. You carry a whetstone with you everywhere you go, and if you touch a rock or you hit an anthill, believe it or not, like even though an anthill's soft, as soon as you hit that, you'll notice your next swing, it's not going to cut as good. And so you just pick it up and you just touch it up with a stone real quick and go back to doing what you're doing. The American scythe, if you hit a rock or something, you're walking all the way back to the grinder and you're resharpening that thing. So after having both, the European Scythe, in my opinion, is like absolutely where it's at. So, other things, like we're starting to harvest strawberries, which I planted hundreds of strawberries last year. That was probably the thing I planted the most of last year was strawberries. And we're finally starting to harvest strawberries. I would say everything we've harvested so far, we've probably got about a gallon. But I mean, we're just getting started. So it's been kind of cool. It's like the fruit's starting to come in and strawberries are like the first thing. So it's just like, yes. It never gets old being able to harvest something you grew and eat it. There will not be enough strawberries to make any jams or anything like that because they don't even make it to the house right now. Actually, I take that back. I did bring in about a half a bucket the other day, and once everybody found out that these were our strawberries, they disappeared quick. So, yeah, a lot of stuff like that. I'm noticing. You know what? Here's something I can ask about. We have a lot of stone fruit, and I guess this would go out to anybody listening. What are some ways you can deal with the stone fruit moth that they drill a hole in your stone fruit and leave a little larva in there, and that larva will grow with the fruit. It'll eat the pit out and basically ruin your fruit. And so when it comes time to harvest, if there's still fruit on the tree, you'll get your peach or plum or whatever, and you'll open it up and it'll be all wormy. Anybody have any suggestions on how to combat that organically? You know, we're not looking to spray anything, but I don't know. That's just something we've been dealing with. This is the first year that our orchard has actually produced fruit, and there's a lot of fruit. And walking around looking at it, everything, they all get this little weep hole, and like sap comes out of the peaches or the nectarines or whatever. And I'm seeing it on all the fruit, so it's kind of a bummer. It's like, oh, yeah, finally getting fruit, and we're not going to be able to eat any of it.
So sad.
Yep. So I don't know. I guess that's put it out to the comments. See what people have to say. I would say one of the cool things with this podcast is there have been a lot of people who have emailed or reached out in relation to things we've said on the podcast, and it's been kind of cool.
Yeah, we might as well put the word out and ask.
Yep. And then I guess what I worked on today, I kind of in your the vein of water, we are changing up our trellising system in the greenhouse for tomatoes. Meg was watching a video, and it was put out by Farmer's Friend, and they showcase people who are using Farmer's Friend products. And there's this guy in, I believe, Washington State, and he's doing the market garden stuff, and so he's got all these high tunnels, and he showed his tomato setup, and the trellising just looks awesome. It was like, oh my gosh, this is the kind of trellis we need. So Meg actually ordered this trellis system, and while she was doing it, I talked her into ordering some drip line stuff. So today I put in drip lines in the greenhouse, and the set came with everything you need to hook it up. You can either mainline it or you can hook it up to a hose. I chose the hose option because that's what we got right now. And so I just hook it up to a hose. I've got a timer. And just the idea of like setting a timer in the greenhouse to water the tomatoes, because that is my biggest weakness. When it gets up to 90 degrees, I ain't about to go stand in that greenhouse until it gets dark. And most of the time, those poor tomatoes are just like starting to wilt by the time the sun goes down. So yeah, we got us a drip system and a new trellis system in the greenhouse. We are ready for tomatoes.
Nice. That's what we want to do. I want to put that thing on a timer too. I'm right with you. I'm right behind you.
It makes life so easy, especially like what I had done in the greenhouse till now was I just went to Lowe's and I bought the soaker hose. Like the soaker hoses now are not the soaker hoses that like I used 20 years ago. Soaker hoses 20 years ago, the hose fills up and it leaks out of the entire hose. These ones now, the majority of the water leaks at the front of the hose, and then by the time you get to the end of the hose, no water comes out at all. And so it's just been a frustration trying to get everything watered with a soaker hose that doesn't water.
We always had the drip tape, but we never had a timer. I bet the timer will come in handy.
Yeah. Heck yeah.
So actually, we've had a timer for the hoses since the end of last summer. The end of last summer, I don't know why, but I would go to water the pigs, and I'd stick the hose in the pig's water drum, and then I'd squirrel out and I'd go, do something other than stand there and wait for that water to fill up. And there was one day it probably watered the pigs for like 5 hours. I was up here in the house helping Meg with something, and a light bulb just went off, and I was like, oh no, I left the hose on down there with the pigs. I go down there and they are happy playing in the biggest puddle they have ever seen. It overflowed. It was a mess. Well, we had a viewer send us one of those inline, it's like a hose timer. It doesn't take batteries or anything. It's just a wind up, kind of like a kitchen timer. You plug it into your hose and then plug that onto your faucet, and then you just set it for how much time you want. I think it goes up to an hour and a half. And
oh wow.
So I've been using this thing, and I think I found them at Lowe's. They're not much. They're like $10-20, something like that. They're not very much. But man, I can't believe I've never bought one of those. If I go water the pigs, crank that sucker up to 30 minutes, and now I know I'm not going to flood those pigs out. Yeah. The other night, I did it again. I was filling up the pigs. I saw something. I went over there. It was like strawberries or something. I was checking the strawberries, and I finally remembered, oh, hey, I was watering the pigs. I go over there. Hose is off. There's no no mess on the ground, no water everywhere. So, yeah, it's pretty awesome.
That's pretty convenient.
I've never heard of that style. I'll have to look into one and get one for like watering the cows or stuff, the water trough. So that way, like you said, you don't forget it on and take off and do something else, and half the day later go, oh yeah.
Yeah,
there goes the well.
Right.
I did that with our steers. When we first got our steers, I just had the hose on and I forgot about it, and it dried up our whole well for like 2 days.
Ooh,
yikes!
It was like dead of summer or something, and we were using the water for a lot of things, and it was just running. And then eventually, I just turned my timer on my phone every time. I was like, I'll just put 20 minutes or whatever it takes, and then it beat me. Say, oh, turn it off.
See, that's what I was doing. Like I was using my phone timer, and I would still forget. Like it would go off, and it'd be like, that much more, a foot more to go in the drum, and it'd be like, oh, okay, well, that's going to be like 10 minutes. And I wouldn't set another 10 minutes, and 2 hours later, 5 hours later, it's just like, So, yeah, having a timer. They sell them in our Lowe's. They're right there with all the garden hoses and all the sprayers and stuff. I don't know. Like, I've never seen them in there until this lady sent us one, and I found them at Lowe's. I was like, have these been here this whole time? I've never seen these. It's like an old school kitchen timer. Yeah, they're pretty cool.
Looking them up, I haven't seen one yet. I see okay, maybe this is a groundwork mechanical water timer. So yeah, it's got like a twist knob on it.
Yeah, I think this one's an Orbit.
Yep, I see that right here. Orbit. Home Depot has the Orbit brand. Yep. Huh. I like that. Pick up
it's
on
like it's cheap insurance. I'll say that it's like really cheap insurance. Like I know that a drum takes like 20 minutes to fill up. If I'm doing 2, I'll sit there for 20 minutes until the first one's full, and then I'll stick it in the other one, and then I can leave because I know it's going to turn off. It's pretty cheap insurance. Peace of mind is awesome. That's the thing I found is like if you can do anything to increase your peace of mind, go for it.
Yeah, the $13 at Home Depot, so it's a cheap peace of mind.
Yep.
Sure.
I think that's about it for my week. Just a lot of the same. I feel like we're getting into like we're getting pretty close to planting out everything. All of our tomatoes are gonna start going in. We're gonna plant out the greenhouse here pretty quick. And then it's like plant everything. Like all the squash goes in, we just finished all these piles, these flats of seeds that we've got started. They're very much ready to move into the ground, and we're getting pretty close. Got like 2 weeks until everything has to go in the ground, so I'm getting excited.
When's our last frost date already passed, isn't it? Or
yeah,
isn't it?
Yeah, it was April 15th, I believe.
Yeah. Or usually it's
tax
Mother's
day.
Tax.
Yeah. Yeah. Mother's Day, I think, is when we usually plant everything.
Yep. That's what all the old timers have told us around here. You plant out Mother's Day.
Safe.
I don't know, like looking at the weather, I think we're done with the frost. Something I heard out here is when the pecan trees leaf out, all chance of frost is gone. And they are currently leafing out. They are the last thing to leaf out. And it's like, okay, well, maybe that's true.
Yeah. When the woolly caterpillars have shorts on, that means it's no more frost.
No more frost. Good to
That's
go.
the truth right there.
Yeah.
So how about you,
I
Al?
finally got to start work. I finally got to start working in our garden area. I feel like I can finally starting to catch up with you guys.
Nice.
So last year we had a couple of acres cleared where Gina's putting the garden area. So we put down some weed fabric. We're doing raised beds right now. So we're able to get all the raised beds set up and then filled with soil. Actually, we fill them with sticks first, rotted wood, and then soil. And then we had some raised garden beds that we did lower down 2 years ago. So it was kind of cool because we took those up and we moved them up above. And then we did the same thing. We did rotted wood with the compost on top of it. So I took up all that stuff, and all the rotted wood was rotted even more, soaking wet. You know, like you can like grab it and like squeeze it like a sponge. It's like that's the reason we're doing it. And then they were loaded with like the worms and everything were in there. So I'm like, all right, it was nice to see like that why we're doing it was actually working.
Yeah.
I was like, yep, that was cool. We even got, what did we plant? We planted our onions, and we planted lettuce so far. I was like, I'm finally catching up to those boys.
Yeah.
So you're kind of doing like hugelculture in your planter beds.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the raised garden beds, they dry out super fast. So we try to do like the hugelculture so that way it'll hold the moisture. And then, I mean, like last year, I should have looked, but I've never looked to see how much rain we got. But it must have been like one of like the highest rains on record for a summer. So like we had some gardens that were in the ground. Well, we didn't get anything from them, but the raised garden bed did really well. So it's like it works for both ways, I guess.
How many beds?
Which was nice. Last year we had four rectangles and 4 round ones. And then we did 4 more rectangles. And she did the bigger one. So Gina likes the Vigo beds. She did the medium-sized Vigo beds before, and this year she's got the large ones. So it's decent size. The layout, like that we have the weed fabric on, is 1,200 square feet. But then you got your spacing and everything you're walking in. So
How do you water everything?
right now we have a hose going up through the woods.
Okay.
We got like 300 feet of hose. But we have some springs up above. I want to dig in, make like a nice spring box so we can water down.
Yeah.
And we want to put an orchard up there, blueberries, maybe a greenhouse. So we want to kind of figure that all out and have the water set up for
So
up
it's
there.
not by the house at all?
It's behind the house, so it's probably 500 feet back behind the house. There's one spot it was the first spot we originally thought about putting the house, but like our driveway goes like this, and then you go like this to get into our house where it is, and then to go to Gina calls it the secret garden, you'd have to go like this, and then you'd be going straight up a hill. And I was like, yeah, that's not going to be fun in the wintertime. So we brought the house lower where it is, we cleared that up last year for the garden. It's nice up there. It's like, man, this would have been a nice spot for a house because it's just quiet. It's not much further than where the house is, but it's just, I don't know, it's quiet. You can hear the birds a lot better, and we can hear, for some reason it sounds like we can keep hearing hawks.
It's just a steep driveway.
I don't know too. Yeah, it would have been steep. I don't know much about loons. Like they must migrate, but there was one last week in the morning. We're out there, and I'm like, I can hear a loon, and then I saw just like a single loon flying overhead. I don't know if you do. You guys have loons down your way?
I don't think so. I think we're too far south.
What are loons?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Like a duck, but it makes a weird noise, and everybody
Yeah,
loves
it's a
it.
really, really forlorn. If you heard it, you'd recognize it. I think that's one of the coolest sounding birds out there.
Yep. Let's see if I can get a
Yeah,
sound.
those what are they? Storks? No, storks, but
Well, cattle egrets.
yeah, they're like a group of them.
Oh,
Like in the
wow.
morning out here, it sounds like they should.
What
be
color
in the
are they?
ocean.
Like a blue
Yeah,
heron.
heron. There you go. No, I don't think I've heard that.
So that's a loon.
Okay.
They're definitely a cool noise, like
Yeah.
cool sound to hear. But they're usually pretty lonesome birds. You don't see like a lot of them together. It's like you usually see one or two, and then you'll see the mother in the summer raising its babies, and then they don't know where they migrate to, and they take off. But I know like up here, that's one of the big reasons you can't fish with lead weights, is because of the loons. So we got a freeze dryer a while ago, and we finally set it up. We've been so busy trying to get ready for the new livestock, and then with the nicer weather, it's like I don't want to be setting this up. So we finally had a rain day, and we're like, okay, now we can be in the workshop, and we don't have to feel bad about setting that up and using it.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny, the lifestyle we live. It's like you're always checking the weather to see what you can do, what you can't do. Kind of thing. It's like,
No
oh,
kidding.
So have you used it yet?
what's
Have you
that?
used it yet? The freeze dryer?
Yes, we did. What do we do? 7.5 dozen eggs. We freeze dried in it. Next thing we want to try is milk. So it's kind of like the eggs, like, I don't know about you guys, but we always run out of eggs in the wintertime. So it's like right now, it's like we got a huge influx. It's like, okay, let's freeze dry the eggs. We can make scrambled eggs in the winter. We can use it for baking. And then we'll be drying off the cow. I don't know when. We got to figure that out. But it's like before we dry off Azalea, before she has another calf, we'll want to freeze dry some milk and make some powdered milk just to have. I was just trying to think ahead on stuff like that for the freeze dryer.
Yeah. We've done chicken in ours, like meat.
How's
Yep.
it turn out?
It turns out pretty good. I mean, it's okay. Like, I don't know. It reminds me of like hiking. You know,
Yep.
when you go hiking, you buy that freeze dried pouch.
Right.
You just add water and to reconstitute it and eat it that way. It's okay. It's like space astronaut food.
Not food. I think for berries, like when we start growing more of our own strawberries and blueberries, it'd be nice to freeze dry those, and those are nice to have for a snack, like freeze dried strawberries, blueberries, and then even just to put them in if you're like sparkling water or something like that,
Yeah.
to put them in. But
I thought
it's a
that'd be
treat.
cool to freeze dry like a meal, like I don't know, make it like I don't know, a sandwich or something, and like freeze dry it, but don't eat it for like 20 years, whatever it is, and just to see if it comes out.
Yep. Yeah, a lot of food's supposed to last like what, like up to 25
Yeah.
years. I don't know if
Yeah.
food will last.
That'd be like a 20-year-old like video in the making.
Right? I'm starting now. Don't lose this
I know,
footage.
I know.
I'm gonna need it in 20
Right.
years.
I know. Yeah, don't lose the footage. Hey, don't lose the food. Like it's gonna get in bottom of that freezer or the
Right.
pantry, whatever.
Do not throw away. This is for 2046.
Yeah, that'd be funny.
I know, like, so what for us, one of the reasons for the freeze dry too is it's like we make so much solar power in the summer that usually right now, like by 11 o'clock, our solar system's charged up for the night before from everything else. So we can do as much laundry as we want. We can do as much as we want. So it's like, oh, the freeze dry is perfect because they use a decent amount of energy. So it's like, oh, we just, it doesn't cost us anything extra. We won't be able to use it in the wintertime, really. But if we can use it in the summer, we can burn off some of that free electricity that's just not doing anything. So it's like it kind of works out perfect for us that way.
That's something I've thought about. We've actually talked about getting a freeze dryer. I think the main reason we haven't done it, haven't pulled the trigger on it, is just we don't have space for it. And I don't know, like We don't eat freeze-dried stuff now. I understand you can put stuff away that'll last, nearly indefinitely, but
Yeah.
I don't know. We keep coming back to just the space thing. Like, we don't have a place to keep it, so it's like,
It's loud.
I don't know how much we would use it. That's what I've heard.
Yeah. You don't want to put in your
We
house.
live in a tiny house. I don't want a piece of equipment in here running.
No.
Ours is in our workshop for a reason.
We have ours in our
And
in our basement, and I could still hear it at night. Like, we'll have it on overnight, and I'll hear it.
and it's what 20. It runs for 24 to 48 hours, depending on what you're dehydrating. So it's running for a while, and they're noisy. I'm sure you probably got an affiliate link for those, so you'll have to drop it below. Because if anybody's looking to get one, not like a plug, but they're on sale till the end of May.
Yes.
They got, I think, like their Black Friday sale going on. So we finally went and picked up our surprise. What did you call your livestock, Jason? Your
Surprise animal?
what did you say? Your surprise. So we finally got our surprise animal. We went and picked up our surprise livestock that we've been waiting for. So we went and got some Highland cattle.
Okay, explain
found-
what a Highland cattle looks like.
So I used to call them hippie cows because they have like
Yeah, that's about right. Yeah.
right, I don't know, they're hippie cows. They just look like a hippie. They got long hair, it's covering their eyes.
They were in sandals and they're hanging at the beach.
Yeah, and that's the thing. They're chill. Like they look like a prehistoric animal when they're walking around. They're just, I don't know. They're just thick animals, and they're just very slow. And the ones we have, and most of them, not all of them, are gentle. So we got them from the lady we got them from. She's the oldest breeder in the U.S.
Wow,
Wow.
that's cool.
Yeah, so they've been doing it for, I forget how long. Maybe she's not, but their family has been doing it for the longest in the U.S. So we were trying to figure out what we wanted. So we have a Jersey milk cow, and they make really good milk, but they are fussy eaters. So I was just doing research, and everybody's like, you don't want a dairy cow bull because dairy cow bulls are mean. Beef bulls are gentle, but dairy cow bulls, for some reason, they're usually like the ornery ones. So they're like, you don't want to get a bull. I should go back a little bit. We're trying to figure out AI for our cow. Nobody in our area does AI. Most of the dairy farms in our area have been bought out by one dairy farmer. So he owns all of them. So he does his own AI. So there's no AI techs in the area. So when we first bought our dairy cow, she was like an hour and a half south. So not super far from us. And she was AI'd originally. So we're like, oh, we'll just get her AI'd again. No big deal. So when we called the company up, they're like, oh, we don't come to your area. I'm like, we're an hour and a half from where she used to be. What do you mean you don't service this area? So we searched and searched and searched. We do have somebody coming to AI. It's she's Missouri, the ladies, and so she travels. So it's kind of like it's not as convenient as if you had somebody local that could come when you want. So we are going to try to get an AI done, but we wanted to get a bull, so we have a bull always on hand if we need one. So we could use the bull this time for breeding, but so my thinking is, I don't know, I kind of always like stop thinking, and maybe sometimes I get too carried away, but Reverence Farm, I don't know if you've heard of that farm. I think they're in Virginia. They're a grass-fed farm. I wish I could remember their name. It's a husband and wife team. They've been organic, grass-fed dairy farm for a long time, and he is maybe I'm off a little bit, but he's like an organic grass-fed veterinarian too. And they have huge genetics for grass-fed jerseys. So we're going to get our cow Azalea AI'd with some semen from their farm to get that grass-fed genetic. And we're doing sex semen, so if she gets pregnant, it will be a female, so that way we can have those genetics on the farm. And then we want to cross that with the Scottish Highlander, and then we can use that also for Azalea in the future. So I'm hoping to get another A2A2 milk cow on the farm, and then use the Scottish Highlander for the breeding. So the Scottish Highlanders are calm. They're very good foragers. They're not fussy. They'll eat a lot of anything. So some of the things So when we first went there, we just kind of like went through like, this is what we want. We want a Scottish Highlander. This is the reasons we want to cross it. So we don't need a bunch of milk cows in the future. It'll always be for meat. So I'm like, I'd rather cross with a beef breed. And I'm like, oh, I'm like, they'll be better foragers. So that's awesome. And then we got there, and this lady is so knowledgeable. She was like, oh yeah, like we were supposed to go look at the cows, and she's like, oh, well, I can't do it this week. She got asked to speak out in Missouri somewhere, or Montana or something, for the beef association. So she was out there speaking. So we went like a week or two later, and then she's giving me her whole spiel about the beef, and she's like, oh yeah, come on in here. I got a hide. So she shows us the hide. The skin is like 1/4 of an inch thick. They got double hair. So they got the really long hair, and then they got hair underneath. So it's like double insulated. They got thick hide. The hide is thicker than a bison hide. So she was like, yeah. So she's like, so they have the thick hide, and they have all the fur. So they don't need to put fat in between the hide and their meat just to keep warm. They can do that with the hide and the hair. So they're the only animal, or the only beef, that can marble their meat 100% just on grass, because they don't need to put that in between in between for like an insulation. So
That's cool.
she was just going, yeah, she was going super in depth on them. So I don't know how long ago it was, but they got called out, asked to go somewhere, some kind of meat thing by like, and there was like 5 or 6 other beef people that sent their meat in to have it all tested. So she had her meat tested. It was like for like omega-3s and omega-6s. And then they had everybody go out, and they had like must have been like a big conference, and they had a chef there cooking up meats, and they were going around and everybody could eat the meat. And there was like, I think it was 6 different ranches. And at the end, the chef's like, all right, so there's the people that sent the meat in are here. Can any of you guys tell us like what beef is your beef? And nobody raises their hand except for this lady. She's like, yep. And he's like, you think you can tell me which one's your beef? She's like, yeah, I know what my beef tastes like. So she picked it, and she was like, whoa, she got it right. And so she was talking to the chef later on. He was like, how do you know? And she just described her meat, and he's like, no, you're right. And she was just kind of going into like the characteristics of the Highland cattle and the beef. So then when we left, she's like, hey, take a package of hamburger. So I'm like, okay. Took a package of hamburger, got home. She's like, you want to have it tonight? I said, yeah. I said, let's just make burgers. She's like, what do you want on them? I said, just put salt. She's like, you don't want like any seasoning? I'm like, nope. I want to find out how good this beef is. It was like eating a ribeye. Super flavorful, not chewy. Like, it was like beef like I remembered as a kid. And we've gotten some good beef before, like, and bought it, but this was premium, just grass-fed, grass-finished Highland cattle. So
That's cool, man.
I was like, all right, we have some other ideas that we're going to be working on now, but we'll stick with the dairy cattle.
So you just got one?
We got
How old are
2.
they?
So they're just a year old.
And then how old before you butcher them? Another year, or?
So the bull will keep for a bull. The steer, we might keep him and not make him into beef. We're gonna wait and see on that. But if it's just a pure Highland cattle, it takes 3 years.
Okay.
But if you cross them with other beef, it takes 2 years. So there's different things you can do to kind of speed up the process so you can get better, tastier meat quicker.
Wow.
Without jeopardizing
Do
everything.
they get very big?
Yeah, they get like a regular size cow, full size cow. So she had, at one point they were up to 170 cows. I don't know what they have right now because they're in their 70s. So it was pretty interesting, like the stuff that they've done, and they're in their 70s and they're still trying new things. I'm like, that's what means, like, that's what we want to be like when we're in our 70s. We want to be, they're not afraid to try stuff. They just, what was it, 2 years ago, they built an Airbnb.
Yeah.
So they can, I'm like, well, like, really? Like, how many 70-year-olds do stuff like this? Like, this is cool. But,
Wow. That's cool, man.
That's awesome.
and it was just something we stumbled across. We were kind of like looking for Highland cattle, but we didn't think we had somebody like that, like a couple of hours away. It's been kind of cool.
Can those cattle, are they good like in hot areas? Like, do they get hot easily? You know what I mean? Because they have a lot of fur on them.
I'm gonna say that their fur probably keeps them cool and insulates them the opposite way, just like in the wintertime.
Yeah.
So we've been out there brushing our cattle, combing them.
They let
Just
you?
not because you need to. We want friendly animals. Especially if we're gonna have a bull, I want a bull that's gentle and friendly. So same thing with the steer. We're going out twice a day and we're brushing them.
Yeah.
And the steer is a lot better now. He's the friendliest. He wasn't at first, but like I can go up to him, I can brush him. So Gina and Olivia usually brush the steer, and I'll brush the bull. He's fine. He's just a little bit more reserved, the bull. But then afterwards, I'll go over to the steer, and I'll like if you brush under his neck, he likes it, and like he'll pick up his neck. So usually the girls brush him. He'll pick up his neck, and then I'll be walking away, and he'll come over to me. So he want me to brush him, so I'll brush him. I'll brush his neck, and then I'll brush his face. And so tonight I'm doing all that, and he's like, I did a little move, and I'm like, what are you doing? He wanted me to brush his bangs. So then he moved around a little bit different, and he wanted me to brush behind his horns.
Yeah.
I'm like, but this is the kind of cows we want. Like, we just want chill cows that you're not afraid to be around.
That's funny.
But,
Yeah, that's
You
funny.
gotta grow your
Yeah,
hair out.
yeah.
this is making me want cows again.
I love cows now. I'm telling you, I never used to be a cow guy. I'm never gonna go back to goats. Like, friendly cows are awesome.
Yeah.
You know, like really like the dairy cow thing, the commitment, that's kind of hard. But man, I miss having cows, like especially if you handle them and they're just like a big puppy and you don't have to worry about them stomping anybody or headbutting you. I mean, it's just I love them. I love cows. I did a steer in 4-H when I was like 12. Completely different doing it, now versus then. Cows are they're fun. They got so much personality.
They can be easy too. Like chill.
Yep. I will say our dairy cows used to be a little bit more ornery. The steer we have was really ornery. The our dairy cow, the milking one, Azalea, could be a little bit, but ever since we got our livestock guardian dog, Brutus, they've been more chill. Like, he likes the cows, they like him. He'll go up, play with them, like lick them, and but he's a chill dog. He's just kind of got that personality too. So it's just interesting. It's kind of like brought them down a notch or two, which is kind of cool.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do those cows have horns? Like long horns?
The Highlanders do, and they'll get up to like a 36-inch wide spread in like 3 years.
And you could probably, when you harvest them, you could probably keep those, huh?
Yeah. So I think if we harvest them or whatever ones we harvest in the future, I think we'll definitely keep the horns, and we'll want to do something with the hides.
Yeah, for sure. Get those hides tanned. That's thicker than a buffalo. Like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
You make a giant coat.
And they got the double hair. Yeah.
I want to see one of your videos like with a giant coat.
Right. It'll be my new winter coat. I won't be getting cold no more.
Afro going.
Right.
Awesome.
Yep.
That's cool, man. So you getting any more animals after this year?
We're going to. I got the bug now. I went out looking at some last week. We're up building the secret garden, and I was on Facebook Marketplace, and I found some cows. I went and looked at them. They were super chill. Like, it was so hard not to buy them, but there was a lot of Jersey mixed into the beef breed, and I'm like, no, if I'm gonna do it, I want beef. I don't want the Jersey end of it. But I mean, those cows were so chill too, so it was so hard. I'm like, no, like, that's not the goal. That's not where we want to go.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely got the bug. We've been looking for more livestock for sure.
Yep. We're about out of beef here with our beefy boys that we had.
Yep.
I'm probably gonna be buying beef here in a minute.
Man, that's where we're at. We
Already?
we needed some ground beef, and I think it was Jack went and got in the freezer, and he comes back and he's got some of our liver grind, and I think he had 1 pack of ground beef, and we needed 2 of the normal ground beef. He's like, I can't find any more. Me and Meg look at each other like, no way. Well, she goes through the whole freezer. Yeah, we have eaten through all of our just normal ground beef.
Wow.
Like, oh man.
Yeah.
It's actually all right. Like, we've got some stuff we can grind. We did a chili grind that we didn't like, so we're going to regrind that. And then there's like a few, like some skirt steaks that we didn't like, so we're going to grind those. But I can't believe we ate through, was it 60, 70 pounds of grind or something like that? And it's only in 4 months.
Wow.
But it sure has been good. I'll say that. Like,
Yeah.
man, your homegrown beef, you can't buy that in a store. Like, I don't care how good someone says their beef is, it is no comparison to the beef that you raise yourself.
So how long before you butcher, Al? It'll be like 2 years?
No, so I think either this fall or next spring we'll butcher the steer we have right now from the Jersey cow.
Okay.
So we'll have beef sooner than that. We'll have beef soon, and that should last us. Just the family of 3 should last us a while. It should last us until we go to butcher more in the future.
Nice. That's gonna be really good.
I'm curious to see what you're gonna get now, Jason. I can't wait till next week.
The mystery
The mystery animals.
for my.
Now that he's got his fence built, what's he gonna get?
No, don't go crazy. Don't go crazy now.
It's not an ostrich.
Yeah.
Can't be an ostrich because you didn't go 10 feet high with your fence.
Yeah.
So we know that's not it. Maybe an emu
Maybe.
or 2.
Yeah. It has to be something tiny.
Has to be something
Mini.
tiny. Well, an emu's tinier than an ostrich.
Has to be a mini something. Mini cow.
Mini cow. Mini giraffe.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I know it's hard not.
I want to get Watusis.
Watusi is cool.
Those
I
are
guess
those are they're kind of like they're like a longhorn, like a Texas longhorn, but they're from I think they're from what, India or Africa?
Yes.
Uh,
Out there.
They can get like a 72-inch, actually maybe bigger, even bigger spread, and their horns kind of like they kind of meander, and so they're not just a slow curve like a Texas longhorn. They're kind of like a like a S curve.
Yeah.
But we saw some at the state fair last year, and watching them walk into the stall where they were at, they walk to the doorway, and it's like, I don't know, maybe like a 4-foot doorway into the stall, and they walk in, and right before their horns touch, they just gracefully turn their head again. They don't bump anything. It was like, that's a cool animal right there.
Yeah.
And they're just big, peaceful cows. I don't know. I thought they were cool. It's like if I could get any exotic cow, I'd get a Watusi.
Yeah, just to save their horns. Anything else, guys?
I think that's it. I think I'm going to go out there and fire up the Scythe after we're done recording.
Yeah. Get your workout in before you go to bed. All right. Well, that's it. We'll leave it at that. I appreciate everyone listening and watching this podcast. Thank you so much. And hopefully everyone has an awesome, fantastic week. We'll see you guys next week.
See you next week.
Later, everybody.